Coach E coming first.
Yes, we do.
Is that still the case, Brett?
Yep, he'll be here in 1 second. Hold on.
What's up?
Hey, Coach, thanks for joining us.
Heard you guys talking some golf, man. It was making me excited. Somebody drive a par 4. How long was it?
Oh, it was during my days as a junior high golfer, and I was in the same foursome with Tony Finau. We're about the same age, and I realized right there and then, I'm never going to be anything in golf, but this guy's amazing. So that's my golf claim to fame right there. Basically hit it on the green on a par 4 at Meadowbrook.
On the very first hole, right? Of the
Yeah,
tournament?
first hole.
That's crazy.
Who's got the first question for Coach? Raise your hand if you would. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, Boise State, they've always been known for having explosive offenses. They're experiencing a little bit of struggles, at least in terms of record this year. What do you see maybe schematically from Boise State now with Andy Avalos running the operation for the Broncos?
Yeah, it's a new offensive coordinator, and so it always takes a little bit of time to get into sync, and I'm sure they're working on their deal, but I mean they do show that they've got capability. I mean they got a really good quarterback and a lot of really good receivers and running backs, and they've got the capability. It is a little bit different from the Boise that we faced for the last 5 years as far as scheme, but they certainly have shown that they have the ability with just their personnel to push the ball downfield.
Anything specific that is a big difference between the previous 5 years to now that you've seen on your study with them?
It's just a different scheme. That's probably the best. I mean, it's the previous guy that we faced was we would probably describe more as a pro style. Where this is a little bit more RPO oriented. A little closer to some of the schemes that are a little bit more RPO oriented, and there's when you play offense, there's a little bit of some of the stuff that you do that's the same, but it is different in that way where we don't see as many of the pro style things as we did in the past.
Okay, Norma, do you have a question?
Sure do. So you guys have had success so far this season in stopping the run, but Boise so far through its first 5 games seems like it likes to pass more often. So how are you going to work on just trying to prevent those long passes and just shut down their air game?
Yeah, that we prepare for our opponent, whoever it is, week by week, it's the study is to try to figure out who they really are, what they do well, trying to make them play left-handed, as much as we can, and there's risk reward and everything that you do on defense as well as on offense, and so it's figuring out where we feel we're best, as far as taking away what they do, and just having a game plan for that kind of thing. And so we're still, just in the phases of kind of finalizing our plan. We, yesterday and today, and we'll watch today's practice and figure out where we're at as far as what we're going to strip and focus on to make sure that our boys are playing fast and sound. But, as far as just what they do, I think that they're capable of really doing both. And a lot of it you can tell just kind of depends on their personnel and how they feel about, whether O-line's blocking, run blocking or pass blocking. But they certainly have the players on the perimeter and a quarterback that can do a good job delivering the ball. I mean, this last game, he had a career high and they've shown that they have the ability to move the ball in the air. And so we've got to find ways to stop that.
Yeah, and last week against Utah State, we saw them just converting, it seemed like third downs one after another. What are you guys doing differently this week to try to prevent that from happening again?
Is that mine? Yeah. So, that the going back to your question about the third downs. There were a lot of third and longs that we felt like we had the opportunity to get out of, and whether it was just one thing or the other, they converted. And so between all the different types of schemes that we had, we did, between drop eights and rush 4 and rush 5 or plus. You just got to give credit to Utah State for executing, and we feel like a correct step here or just something done differently here is going to give us that. So it's I think that the thing is we don't want to start going outside of ourselves to say, okay, our problem is third downs. We look at it, there's always just something that we can correct in all the third downs that we ended up giving up, all the third and longs, which implies on first and second you're doing a good job putting them in third and long. We just got to finish the drive and get out of it. And we're playing fewer snaps, we're giving more offensive time and all those things. And so it's really just tightening up the schemes, tightening up the technique. A lot of times it's something as simple as just technique or alignment that ends up costing you on a third down, and we've got to make sure that we're just shoring up all those loose ends to make sure that we're playing a little bit more sound football.
Thanks, Nora. We've got questions now from Jay Drew and then Mitch Harper.
Hey, Gabe Summers is kind of an interesting case, walk-on, now a scholarship player, and really making an impact. What is it about him that's kind of enabled him to step up and be a contributor this year and last year, really?
Yeah, very, very non-assuming looking guy. When you meet him and watch him, I mean, he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest or any of that stuff, but he's just he's worked really, really hard on himself in the weight room. He's gained tons of weight. I mean, when we took him as a walk-on, I think he was like 230 pounds off his mission, and just did a phenomenal job just through the years prepping himself and getting stronger. And he's one of the stronger guys in the weight room. And so that's given him the opportunity to contribute. And when his opportunity came for him to play, he does a really good job, understands what we're trying to get done. Is a really difficult guy to block in the run and in the pass. And we've been excited about what he's brought to the table. We nicknamed him Gumby, a couple of years ago when he first came, because he was just, like anybody my age or older just remembers the Gumby cartoon. He was a lot like that, just really flexible, really difficult to kind of get your hands on. Was a guy that was slippery and all those attributes just add to him being a really good defensive lineman for us.
Thanks, E.
Yeah, I asked this question. I don't want to say it's easier, but does it help maybe at all when you and your staff are putting together a game plan for a opponent that you've seen year after year, like you have with Boise State? Because with independent schedules, you guys have a lot of novelty and you see a lot of new programs every year. Does it help put a game plan together when you have so much data and reference with a certain opponent like Boise?
Yeah, for sure. Just through the years as an independent, sometimes you play a team, you don't see them for another 3 years. And so sometimes when the next time you loop back around and play them, they've got a different coordinator. And so, all the time we go back and look at previous notes, like Arizona State's guy, right, where we played him before when he was at Boise, and Utah State's guy, we played him when he was at UCF. So you start to kind of keep track of all the notes and figure out who's going where, but it's a little bit harder when you only play somebody once, because you're not really seeing little changes and nuances just through the year and through the years. But in all the years that we've played Boise, it's felt like it's been really a lot of the same personality. There's been a lot of chess match as far as just the schemes of what we felt like worked or what they felt like worked, and coming back in the second half and making our corrections, all that stuff. And in a way, it felt a lot like a conference game for us because we were playing them every year. But now that we are going to conference, we're going to start to face that a little more, where we get face certain teams and face certain coordinators and schemes year to year. But it's difficult when you're playing only one team, just one shot. You don't really have much that you're going off of, and you don't refer back to your notes, your journals as often when you're doing that, just because it's a different opponent, different scheme every week, and going to different parts of the world too, or different parts of the U.S. where you go all the way out east and go to the Midwest, and you're doing all those. You start to see, certain teams and certain regions play a certain type of ball as far as just the schemes that are evolving around in that region, and you go to other places and it's a little bit different. So, hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that was great. And I also wanted to ask you on one of the players along your defensive line that I think a lot of people maybe coming into the year weren't talking much about. I know you were bringing him up a lot to us, Blake Mengelson out of JUAB, PWO. What was the story on him? I remember he was part of the 2020 class as a PWO. Like, what has caused this situation for him to get so much playing time in his first full season with the program?
He's done a really good job. Obviously we identified him as somebody that, could when you're looking for a PWO, it's always somebody that's a potential scholarship guy that may not be getting as much pub, that could come into the program and make a difference. And he fit the standard of what we were looking for, fit the program as far as his fit in it. And so when we ended up taking him out of high school, we put him on the gray shirt route where we could just continue to lift him and get him stronger and bigger. And then he joined us in January. And so coming into this year, he has a little bit more under his belt than a usual guy, because he's been with us since spring. And he's just really developed. He's a big, strong guy that was a wrestler as well. And so he brings a lot to the table as far as just some of the skill set that you're looking for in a defensive lineman. And he's going to be a really, really good player. He has the ability to play inside and outside for us. And so he's played D tackle, plays D end right now, but I can move him around in different spots. And he's, a 6'6" guy that is just going to be a phenomenal player for us in the future, in the years to come.
Thanks, C.
Looks like we got time for one more. Jared, go ahead.
Coach, we talked to Kalani yesterday a little bit about the rotation and how that's helped the depth and made a big difference as far as having guys be ready when they have their opportunities to step up. What's it like seeing the defense get, kind of gel and maybe get some of the dividends from that investment over the last few years?
It's been good. It just shows the camaraderie of the boys in the locker room, and we're starting to rotate. We normally rotate through the D line, right? And you've seen that in the past years, but you're starting to see more backers play, more corners play, and we're getting the depth that we need in order to keep ourselves healthy. I mean, when you go into a season and you're playing the first 4 or 5 games and you're getting dinged up, and you see a lot of teams just in the conference play start to kind of go downhill just because they're missing a lot of key guys. And for us to have that depth, to trust putting in guys that are, not necessarily down the line, but just maybe backups, but play a starting role. Those guys bring a lot to the table.
One of the guys yesterday said that they're competitors. They want to be on the field, but they've bought into that concept of, hey, it's better to have someone 100% than if I'm down to 70. How hard is it to get guys buying into that?
I think that once the kids see, just the formula work as far as just using their backups and not, there's a lot of sacrifice that has to happen in order for you to keep yourself unblemished up to this part of the season. And guys have got to rely on their backups, and backups have to be trustworthy. You don't just put them in if they're not ready. Backups need to show that they know their stuff, that they know what they're doing, that they're capable, and that trust starts to build between the starter and the backup, and they continue to keep pushing each other.
Awesome, Coach. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
All right.
Up next, we have Caleb Hayes. If you have a question for him, if you'd raise your hand.